Okay, hi. I'm Mary, one of the MOSSAs, Mothers for a Sustainable South Australia, and my job here today is to be moralising Mary, as they call me, because I'm going to talk about the ethical issues that we think this proposal raises. The proposal of a high-level nuclear waste dump in South Australia. We have 5 main concerns, and the first concern relates to the impact that this proposal might have on our Aboriginal communities. If we look at where this deep geological facility, the hole as we call it, is most likely to be placed, it's in the north of our state, up on Aboriginal land. The Royal Commission clearly says that there has to be community consent in order for this proposal to be accepted. And particularly, there has to be consent by the communities who are going to be most likely impacted upon. There will probably be a lot of communities, but particularly in terms of the deep geological facility, the Aboriginal communities in the north of this state. South Australia has a pretty checkered history when it comes to respecting Aboriginal culture and connection to land. And we're concerned that this proposal will cause deep division and disruption to the Aboriginal communities. So our question is, will this proposal be positive or have a positive impact on our Aboriginal communities, or will it be divisive and cause a lot of division? I'm going to go on and on about this division. But also we have to think the Aboriginal communities will be grappling with the issue, should we take this money and have our community benefit, or what about it? What's the impact going to be on our culture and our land? We certainly can't talk for Aboriginal communities, but we hope that their opinion is listened to and that their decision is respected. Our second concern about this proposal is that the impact it's going to have on future generations. As you've already heard, once this first shipment of high-level nuclear waste that needs to be contained for over 100,000 years arrives on our shore, it's here forever. There's no turning back. Barb's already highlighted to you all of the economic risks that are associated. Michelle's done the safety risks. So our question is, do we have the right to burden future generations with the cost and the risk of managing this waste? Can we really make this decision on their behalf? Our third concern about the impact of this proposal is on our clean and green image. South Australia prides itself on its food and wine industry and its growing tourism, and they are the backbone of our state. The Royal Commission plays down the impact of this proposal on this kind of clean and green image, citing France as a country that has nuclear power and a food and wine industry. We actually don't think that's a terribly accurate comparison. The reason being, France is only looking after its own waste, which it benefited from in the power. It's not proposing to import other waste and look after it for 100,000 years, and certainly not in the quantities that we're talking about here. So our question is, will we be able to continue to promote our state as clean and green when we're also known as the nuclear waste dump of the world? Our fourth point addresses the argument that's been brought up that we have a moral obligation to accept the waste because we mine uranium. First of all, it needs to be said that there is international agreement that the country that benefits from the power that they have in their nuclear reactors is responsible for their own waste. That's always been the agreement. Secondly, if we were to take this logic further about we mine the uranium, therefore we have to take the waste, what about our iron ore industry? What about if our iron ore is sent offshore and it's built into weapons used in war? Do we have a responsibility there? Where would these responsibilities end? We know that there needs to be a global solution to this, how to store this high-level nuclear waste. But we think that the best way of approaching this, that there needs to be a global plan that's led by the countries that have the waste at the moment. At this time, no other country is putting up its hand to be the nuclear waste dump of the world, and we're wondering, why is South Australia doing this? That brings us to our fifth concern, which is we're wondering why we had the Royal Commission to begin with. We're wondering if the driver of this Royal Commission has been the nuclear industry. We believe that the nuclear industry is actually a dying industry, and the reason we think that is that over 20 years ago, it accounted for 16% of the world's power, electricity generation. It's now 10%. If we are to go ahead with this proposal, we are actually giving the nuclear industry the green light to go ahead and expand and get more clients. We know that the renewable energy sector at the moment is now growing faster worldwide than any other energy sector. So our question is, do we want to be enabling and supporting the expansion of the nuclear industry? They're my 5 concerns, but I can't stop. I just have this one more question I have to ask on behalf of the MOSSAs. See, Barb talked about the amount of money that this government is spending in order to get this proposal up and running. Like, we're talking about $2.4 billion. And we know that our state is struggling economically and with employment-wise, so we know that we need to find solutions. But we're wondering, is it morally right that we allow our government to spend this large amount of money on such a risky proposal over unimaginable timelines? Professor Ian Lowe was recently at a community forum that we were attending, and he asked the most pertinent question of all, I think, when he said, do we want to invest in the great new industries of the 21st century or the ghost industry of the 20th century? That's the end from Moralising Mary.